Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A. So let's go ahead and get this started. All right, first question. Does how many times you go to the toilet in a day affect weight gain for strength, as in if someone goes just once a day compared to someone who goes 3? We're getting into topics of gut health at this point. Does it matter? Yes. Here's what I'm going to say. If you don't go at least once a day, and we mean the number 2, we mean poop, not urine, your diet is terrible. Like, your diet is truly horrific. You need to change what you're eating. Okay, your diet is really bad. And I'm just calling it like it is. And it's not even about weight gain. We're just talking about the quality of your diet, the nutrients in your diet, things like fiber in your diet, everything else in your diet. It's bad. That's your bare minimum baseline. Now, medically, they say if it's more than once every 3 days, you should see a doctor. But realistically, your diet and water intake or something is really, really off if it's less than once a day. I personally go after every meal. All right? Every time I eat a meal, I go to the restroom about 10 to 15 minutes later. That's my normal. It's my normal. Automatically happens. Occasionally, when I don't eat a meal, sometimes get up, it's in the evening time, or wake up in the morning, I need to, right? It's my normal. So if I eat a meal, I go to the bathroom. It just happens. Okay, that's actually your optimal. That's your optimal in terms of what you should see with a really, really good diet. People can disagree all that they want. I don't care. All right, next question. Hey coach, how do you program for your taller lifters looking to improve their bench press? I'm 6'5" with a reach wingspan that is almost as long as Jon Jones. I know that my bench will probably always be weak in proportion to my other lifts, but it would be nice to get to at least 300 one day. Currently, it's only in the low 200s. Much love from Kansas. All right, here's the beauty of your height and what taller guys have to remember. Taller guys always have more strength potential than shorter guys. You need to always understand that, because you can put more muscle into your frame. Your pound for pound strength will be worse. But for you as a tall guy like that, getting to a 300 bench is actually easier than it is for, say, 5'6" guy. Why? Because you can hold more muscle in your frame. Now, you will need more muscle relative to that to move that weight. But realistically, a 300 bench for a really tall guy, like a 6'5" guy, isn't that hard to get. It really isn't. That's not super advanced, because you're going to be heavier. At 6'5", if you have been training and actually took time to gain muscle, it's not like you're going to be walking around at only 200 pounds. You're going to be at a higher body weight if you have finished out all your noob gains, all of them, and then started putting intermediate muscle on. Your body weight's going to be pretty high unless you're just completely shredded. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you haven't bulked up to gain appropriate weight, then it's different. But I mean, it's not uncommon for a 6'5" lifter to weigh 270, 275, and not even be fat, if they've really pushed their muscle potential high. So perspective. So as far as this goes, as far as the bench programming goes, you just have to be careful with grip width. That's the biggest thing we look at. Guys with really long arms have to be careful on how wide they grip. I would probably never have you go outside the rings. Like, pinkies on rings would probably be as far as we would go. We would need to look at that. We usually need more tricep work. That's the other big thing, because you're going to have a longer stroke on the bench, and because your grip width relative to your arm length and everything is not going to be real wide. You're always going to use a little more tricep, because again, it's going to be in proportion, and you think in the proportions, the closer our grip goes, the more tricep we use. But in your case, because we can't go even as wide as a lot of other lifters might safely, and then proportionately you're even closer, you have a very long acceleration time for the triceps. Okay, so that's one of the things taller lifters, you usually, or anyone with longer arms, okay, we do have to limit grip width sometimes for shoulder health, and then we usually need more tricep work. right? And it's not to say that triceps don't help shorter arm lifters, because it does. But if they're completely raw, it's not so much the case. It's not as critical. They really just need more pec and lat. But for the longer arm guy like that, we do need to usually do a little bit extra tricep work, and we need to limit how wide you grip. And outside of that, fundamentally, we would train you the same. We would just focus on your weak points and good programming, right? And then whatever's weakest would get extra attention. So the programming itself wouldn't be fundamentally different, other than we already know that on your movement pattern, again, just due to the length of the stroke, that triceps are going to be a little more important. So you're going to need comparatively probably more tricep strength relative to pec strength as a result of all of that. But it doesn't mean we neglect pecs either. So that's kind of the way that I look at it. All right, next question, and last question of the week. When doing different variations on bench presses on upper day, I always need to do the last variation at 50% for 3x20 because I don't complete the third set of 10 at 70% because the first two variations burn me out. Do I need to build my work capacity, or is this typically when doing 3 different variations of big movements? Wait, you're telling me you're doing 3 different sets of 10 of a supplemental lift drug-free? What? No, that's not. You're not going to be able to. You're not going to get away with that. Now, if you're blasting gear, fine. Be aware that third press variation you do is going to be a little bit weaker. But if you're telling me that you're coming in and trying to do, say, a wider grip bench and a closed grip bench, then dumbbells, 3 sets of each, as a drug-free lifter, you need to cut one of those out. Okay. So if you're doing your max effort, you probably need 2 types of presses, and that's it. Some lifters with a lower work capacity, we might stop at 1 and then just do extra tricep work or something, or delt work. Okay, that's your issue. And 4 people say, but Jason, you do it. Do we need to have this conversation? Hopefully we don't need to have that conversation again. Let's come back over to the point. If you are doing this as a drug-free lifter, I would never program this way personally. If I was coaching you, you would not be doing 3 different supplemental presses like that. If we did, it would be for someone who needs more shoulder work, and it would be something like a flat version, an incline, and an overhead. Okay? For someone who really needs shoulder specialization. We wouldn't do it on actual real presses that use the chest. It's too much. Of course, it's going to drop down. Of course, it's going to drop down like that, and you're not going to have anything left. It's going to be outside your work capacity. It's going to be outside your work capacity. And if you need additional volume for a weak link, you might need smaller exercises at that point. This is where single joint movements come in handy. Right? It's why we do them. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.